The capital was moved to the sacred city of Kyoto, where Kamu, the 50th emperor of Japan, built a magnificent new palace, an impressive symbol of imperial authority. But while the samurai gained in power, imperial power gradually weakened. One samurai, named Taira Masakado, even dared to proclaim himself emperor. He was defeated, but for most of the next 1,000 years, the samurai would fight among themselves to dominate the imperial court. But the samurai were not the only ones fighting for control of the emperor. Monks became warriors in their quest for power. One 12th century emperor said that besides the samurai, there were three things that he could not control: the fall of the dice when gambling, the floodwaters of the Kamo River, and the warrior monks of Mount Hiei. These monks fought with this nasty-looking weapon called a naginata. Today, a peaceful mountain retreat, this temple on Mount Hiei was once the headquarters of the largest and most formidable army in Japan, an army of warrior monks called the Sohei. At its height, the temple complex boasted over 3,000 buildings. Wielding their fierce naginatas, a huge war party of Sohei monks would often flow down into the city of Kyoto to press their demands for privileges on the imperial court. Monks are supposedly peaceful, but the Sohei monks were legendary warriors. One of the most impressive feats of martial history took place here at Uji Bridge in the year 1180. Monks, hopelessly outnumbered by attacking samurai, tore up the planks of the bridge to defend their retreat. One of the monks climbed up on the bridge's pilings and, whirling his naginata like a propeller, deflected the arrows that were being shot at him. For this, he was dubbed Tajima, the arrow cutter. But despite their fighting prowess, the monks were finally no match for the powerful samurai clans, who eventually tamed them. In the 13th century, the most powerful clan of all, the Taira, were at war with their arch-enemies, the Minamoto. These were the classic battles of early samurai history, full of pomp and ritual. First, commanders would gallop out and proudly announce their ancestry, proclaim their greatness as warriors, and throw the vilest insult they could think of at their opponent. Next, they shot their arrows and charged each other, hoping to dispatch their foe with a single stroke of their sword. Onlooking warriors would not stain the honor of the combatants by lending any help. For the samurai, honor was everything, more precious than life itself. They would kill or die in an instant to defend it. And there was a very practical reason for this obsession with honor. A samurai's status and his lands were not protected by law, only granted by his lord. Failure or defeat in battle meant loss of his land and status, reducing him and his descendants instantly to peasants. His easily offended honor and incredible loyalty was, in a sense, pure job insecurity. And so, the samurai brought back enemy heads after a battle, which they presented to their lords as proof of a kill. Their lord rewarded them with land and titles. If a samurai were defeated in battle, but survived with his head intact, he often preferred to take his own life rather than face the disgrace of his failure. One early suicide was done with such style and finesse that it was to provide a model for noble and heroic ritual suicides for centuries to come. After one fearsome battle with the Taira clan, the defeated samurai Minamoto Yorimasa retreated here inside the Byoto-in temple. After his defeat by the forces of the Taira at Uji Bridge, Minamoto Yorimasa came to this spot while his sons defended the gate outside and penned his death poem on a war fan before committing ritual suicide.
How sad that the old fossil tree should die without a single blossoming.
Yorimasa killed himself in the most painful and thus the most heroic way possible, by plunging his short sword into his abdomen. This act took more than just courage or practical calculation. It took supreme conviction. This obscure temple hides a little-known relic that speaks volumes about the place of honor given to samurai who committed ritual suicide. A group of samurai failed to defend a castle for their lord. Rather than accept defeat, 384 of them committed suicide in the main hall of the castle. Their lord honored them by taking the floor of the hall and making it the ceiling of this Buddhist temple, raising their act of suicide to a spiritual plane.
伏見城で切腹されました384名の方の血の跡でございます。お寺の天井に貼ってお弔いしてあるわけでございます。
What possessed the samurai to take their own lives in such a slow and painful fashion? Suicide was a rational and practical choice, preferable to the dishonor that would doom not only a samurai himself, but also his family and descendants to the brutal life of a peasant or a highway robber. The samurai were trained from childhood to welcome an honorable death. They were taught the Zen Buddhist belief that life is but a brief illusion, a flash of lightning, a bubble in a stream. In his warrior's mind, the very point of living was a noble death, preferably on the battlefield with honor, but failing that, by his own hand. And a noble death became more than elegant, dignified, and beautiful. It was seen as an almost holy act, a release from the cycle of life's suffering. It was this total lack of fear that allowed the samurai of the Minamoto clan to triumph over the Taira in a desperate sea battle in the year 1192. The Minamoto leader, Yoritomo, was not content merely to be the military leader of Japan. He rejected the titles given him by the emperor and established his own government. Yoritomo became shogun, military dictator, the first samurai ruler of Japan. He chose the easily defended town of Kamakura, far from Kyoto and its court intrigues, to be his headquarters. Yoritomo built this giant Buddha, now famous throughout the world, but his real legacy was the code that he required his warriors to follow. He ordered his samurai to live lives of simple frugality, to have no fear of death, and to serve him, their absolute master, with unswerving loyalty.